You can get all these visual aids for yourself, all right? Page 57, section 2141. You see the highlighted language. There's a lot of legalese in this legislation, in these bills, but it says that they want to repeal the health subtitle changes. What does that refer to? You read down here, Public Law 119-21. That's the one big beautiful bill. That's the American Families Tax Cut. What they want to do is repeal the very important and necessary changes that Republicans voted to put into law. President Trump signed that into law on July 4th, triumphantly on Independence Day. It was a great marquee achievement for lots of reasons. Some of the most important provisions in that law was that it eliminated fraud and abuse of our health system. Medicaid has been rife with fraud and abuse, and so we reformed it. Why? To help provide more and better health services for the American people. Because the problem with Medicaid is it's been abused. We had so many people on Medicaid that never were intended to be there. Been there in the first place. One was able-bodied young men who are riding the wagon who should be working. We got them back to work. And the other thing that we focused on was the illegal aliens. By the CBO's estimate, about 1.4 million illegal aliens were receiving Medicaid benefits that were intended only for U.S. citizens that met the categories I just described. They were gaming the system. They were cheating the system. And what that means is that less resources were available for the people, the Americans who actually needed it most. So we did the common sense thing, the right thing, the just thing, and we put it in the law, and the president signed that, gladly signed it into law. They want to repeal it. They want to give those resources back to illegal aliens. That's exactly what that highlighted language means. On this exhibit number 2 over here, I feel like I'm back in court. Exhibit number 2, okay? This is the specifics of what that would mean. When we say they want to give $200 billion back to illegal aliens, these are the specifics. If you read the legalese here in the language in the bill on page 57 and what follows, that's what it's talking about. These are all the various provisions in the chart over here. Those are listed in millions. So you see the final total there, $192.8 billion of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats want to give back to illegal aliens. That's a fact, and nobody can refute it. Now look, what we've done is very simple. We sent over a continuing clean resolution. This is standard practice around here. And all the Democrats who are voting against it in the Senate right now, every single one of them have given impassioned speeches about how you must pass continuing resolutions, you must pass CRs. You should never shut down the government because it's dangerous and destructive and selfish and wrong. Well, suddenly they've changed their tune. We're playing, I invite you all after the press conference to go by the Speaker's office in the hallway there, and you can see the highlight reel of all of them saying this passionately, as recently as March of this last year when Chuck Schumer led his caucus to vote for the same CR. They did it 13 times during the Biden administration in the previous 4 years, but suddenly they won't do it. So everybody has to ask themselves why. It has nothing to do with health care. The subsidies that they're saying is the issue is not the issue. That is an issue for the end of the year. December 31 is when that expires. So Congress has 3 months to negotiate that. Certainly we could work on it in the month of October to find some consensus and figure that out, what reforms there may be necessary to make all that happen. Republicans are committed to the health care of Americans. We have already proven that we are making health care more efficient and effective and more available so that we can bring down cost and premiums and improve quality of care. We put the goods on paper. We're doing that. And the CBO analysis that came out August 25th said that these changes that we put in our bill are doing exactly that. The Congressional Budget Office is not a Republican shop, as you all know. They typically go against what I'm doing, okay, but they had to admit that this is going to make 2.3 ineligible recipients no longer on the Medicaid rolls. It's going to save $185 billion for taxpayers. That's exactly what we promised, and that's what's going to be achieved. But we have more reforms coming to try to fix Obamacare, which is not working for the people. But you need common sense, responsible Republicans who are serious about policy to fix that for the people, and that's what we're working to do. The Democrats are stalling that because they need a political talking point. And why? Because Chuck Schumer, who leads the Democrats, is terrified that he's not going to win back his Senate seat. He's afraid that the Marxist far-left corner of his base is going to challenge him in New York. Maybe many of you have noticed New York is probably going to elect a Marxist for mayor. He's terrified by that development. Chuck Schumer is a far-left progressive politician, but he's not far enough left for this base. And so he's got to show a fight against the president. He's got to show that he's fighting Republicans. And because they're playing political games, and they're not doing what he himself said passionately as recently as 6 months ago that must be done, that you passed a standard bipartisan CR. Because he needs political cover, he is dragging the American people through this. And who's getting hurt? Women, infants, and children, nutrition programs that are now stalled, veterans' health services that will not be provided, people who are low-income Medicare recipients who receive telehealth and health treatment at home. Many of those programs are not being funded. We have troops and TSA agents and Border Patrol agents who are working without pay, protecting the country. And you have FEMA services, health insurance policies, for example, that are being stalled in the middle of a hurricane season because the Democrats want to play political games and try to obscure the real facts at issue. We challenge them. We challenge them to tell us why they're not trying to give illegal aliens health care again when they put it in their own bill. This is not Republicans playing games. I could have put Republican conservative priorities on the CR and sent it over there, but I didn't. And so when you all ask me, why aren't you negotiating with them? I don't have anything to negotiate. Leader Thune and I can't take off Republican priorities that we put in the CR and say, hey, is that better? Could you vote for that? Because we didn't put them on there in the first place. Why? Because Republicans are being responsible. We're operating in good faith, and we're trying to get the Democrats to do their job, and they won't. Those are the simple facts, and they cannot be obscured. I'm so grateful for the strong leadership of my colleague and partner over in the Senate, and I'd love Leader Thune to give you a little update here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker is right. We have an opportunity to pick up a House-passed bill that, if it passes the Senate, will be sent to the White House. The President will sign it, and the government will reopen. It's that simple and that straightforward, and that's all we're talking about here. All we need is a handful more Democrats. We have a majority of senators, 55 senators, have already voted for this clean, short-term, nonpartisan CR. As the Speaker said, no policy riders, no gimmicks, nothing in here that benefits Republicans. This is a straight-up 7-week funding resolution, and we need it to keep the government open. And if we don't keep the government open, you'll have all the things that the Speaker just alluded to, all the Americans who are adversely impacted by this government shutdown. Now, this is something, as you all know, as recently as the last administration, during the Biden administration, when the Democrats had the majority here in the United States Senate, the Democrats on 13 different occasions voted for this, a short-term continuing resolution. Now, I have to ask, what's changed? What's different about this? What's different is who's in the White House. That's what it's about. It's all about President Trump and the Democrats needing to pick a fight to satisfy their far-left political base, far-left activist organizations who are the tail wagging the dog right now. That's all this is about. And you have a Democrat leader from New York in the Senate, a Democrat leader in the House from New York, and you have a mayoral race in New York, you've got AOC, you've got all these people that are bringing pressure to bear on what should be a routine, simple, straightforward proposition, and that is a short-term continuing resolution to keep the government funded, which is sitting right now. This is sitting at the Senate desk. We will have a vote another hour or two, and it'll be the 4th time that Democrats will have an opportunity to vote to keep the government open. Now, at some point, reason, good sense, common sense has to take effect here, because that's really what this is. They brought to us, and the Speaker alluded to all the impacts on illegals and free health care programs in this country, a bill loaded with $1.5 trillion in new spending, which includes all these provisions. And they want to load that onto a 7-week continuing resolution to fund the government. Now, what's happening right now when the government is shut down, all the things that we could be doing, The defense authorization bill, which benefits every congressional district, every state across this country, is languishing right now because we are shut down. The other appropriations bills, we have people in the Senate, both Republicans and Democrats, and frankly Democrats I think especially, because they haven't had a chance to be heard in the appropriations process for a really long time. Because when Chuck Schumer ran the Senate, we didn't do appropriations bills. We didn't put them on the floor. They marked them up in committee and then they died. And then he wrote it behind closed doors in his office. That's the difference. We are opening this process up, and one of the things that's not getting done while the government is shut down is an appropriations process that allows us to fund the government the old-fashioned way in the light of day. We aren't working on permitting reform, which should be a bipartisan priority. We aren't working on a farm bill. We got a lot of farm policy this summer in the Working Families Tax Cuts bill, but there's more to do there. Those should be bipartisan things that we could be working together on, along with appropriations. All those things aren't getting done right now because the Senate Democrats have chosen to shut the government down. They have an opportunity, a fourth time today, fourth time to vote to open up the government and to allow us to do the rest of the work that the American people expects us to do. They have taken hostage the federal government and, by extension, the American people, who are the only losers in this. Everybody's talking about who wins and who loses and who gets the blame. That's not what this is about. This is about what's doing in the best interest of the American people. And what's in the best interest of the American people is keeping the government open and operating so it can continue to work on their behalf.
A few questions? Yeah, right.
Are you at all concerned that this decision by the administration to block some of these infrastructure projects, to take some of these blue states and target them, that could backfire on the momentum you guys have to try and break the stalemate and open up the government?
So the question is about the executive and the White House and what they're doing in this situation. Everybody needs to understand how this works. When Congress decides to turn off the lights, to shut the government down, it shifts the authority to the executive branch. That's how the process works. The person who has decided to put the White House in that situation is Chuck Schumer, who leads the Democrats, the 44 who keep voting to keep the government from opening up. They're voting to shut it down. So what happens in that situation? Whoever is the president, whoever is sitting in the White House, and their staffs at the Office of Management and Budget are given an unenviable task. It's a regretful situation. They have to then determine, since the spigots have been effectively turned off and there's no more money coming in, they have to then prioritize, triage effectively, federal spending. They have to look at all of that and say, you know, which things are deemed essential and which are non-essential, which priorities, policies, and personnel must be kept to keep the government operating, and which are less of a priority. So whomever is sitting in the White House gets to then apply their lenses of review. We happen to have a Republican, a conservative administration. We're very grateful for that. We're limited government conservatives. We think the government's too big. We think the federal government is too big. It does too many things, and it does almost nothing well. And so it serves the taxpayers to send less of their hard-earned money to Washington and keep more in their pockets. That's what we're advancing through the One Big Beautiful Bill and all the legislative priorities that we achieve. But see, sometimes Democrats, not sometimes, all the time, Democrats don't agree with that because they love big government. I mean, listen to them. They want the government to control every aspect of your lives, and they need all of your hard-earned dollars to do that. In fact, they'd like to take them all. That's what the socialists are arguing for. That's what the Marxists believe. We believe the opposite. So here's this situation. Here's the president, the current occupant of the White House, that's been given this opportunity by Chuck Schumer, and he's a limited government conservative. He's looking at that and saying, gee, you know, this is inefficient, this is ineffective. And we'd never get Democrat votes to limit that because they never vote to limit government, ever. It's against their religion. But he has that opportunity now to say this is a program that would serve the American people if it were not funded, because government would be more efficient and effective, and that serves everyone. So they're going to make those decisions. Now, are they taking great pleasure in that? No. Is he trolling the Democrats? Yes. I mean, yes, because that's what President Trump does, and people are having fun with this. But at the end of the day, the decisions are tough ones. And I've met with him. I talked yesterday at length with Russ Vought, who's the director of the Office of Management and Budget. Russ takes no pleasure in this. Russ wants to see a smaller, more efficient, more lean, effective federal government as we do, but he doesn't want people to lose jobs. He doesn't want to do that, but he has, that's his responsibility. So he's very carefully, methodically, very deliberately looking through that to see which decisions can be made in the best interest of the American people. That's his obligation, and that's his real desire. The president takes no pleasure in this, but if Chuck Schumer is going to give Donald Trump the opportunity to determine what the priorities are, he's going to exercise that opportunity, and that's where we are. Chad.
Square something for me here. How can you say that they take no pleasure in this, and then the next minute say, oh, they're just having fun and trolling people? This is a government shutdown. On one hand, you say this is very serious, that people's jobs are on the line. On the other hand, you say, oh, this is just fun and games and they're trolling.
So the effects are very serious on real people, real Americans. We support federal employees who do a great job in all these different areas, but what they're trying to have fun with, trying to make light of, is to point out the absurdity of the Democrats' position, and they're using memes and all the tools of social media to do that. Some people find that entertaining, but at the end of the day, the decisions are hard ones, and I'm telling you, they're not taking any pleasure in that. Yes, Jake.
The Democrats are saying they would like you and the leader to put in writing that you want, how you'll handle the Obamacare stuff.
So Jake is asking the Democrats' latest demand. Apparently, I haven't heard that, but they want us to put in writing how some of these unresolved questions will be resolved. Here's the problem. Some of the issues that they're bringing to the table and they're demanding immediate, easy answers for are not easy answers, and they take a long time to deliberate. That is the process. This is a deliberative body and a very large one. We got 435 over there and 100 over here. We can't snap our fingers and he and I and two other leaders in a room go, oh, well, this is the resolution. That's not how it works. So what we're trying to do to buy the extra time to get to November 21st is to give both chambers and this whole body 7 more weeks to figure that out. So it's not an easy solution. They know that very well. They know it as well as we do. But they're using that as a red herring because they want to drag this along so they can get political points. Yes?
Watch. Do you take any responsibility for what's happening, and what is the justification for not holding votes in your chamber this week and potentially yours this weekend when there are some bipartisan conversations happening in the Senate? Why not just stay here and work this out?
I'll give you my quick answer. I'll yield to the leader, but my quick answer is very simple. The House did its job. The House sent a bipartisan, very simple, very conventional 24-page continuous resolution to keep the lights on. And we sent it over, we passed it, and it's been rejected by the Senate. So the House will come back into session and do its work as soon as Chuck Schumer allows us to reopen the government. That's plain and simple.
Right. Well, and as I mentioned, all the things we aren't doing, right? So we're in a shutdown posture here because of Senate Democrats. There is united support, House Republicans, Senate Republicans, a few Senate Democrats, the President of the United States, in support of keeping or opening the government back up. And right now it's being blocked by the Senate Democrats. And all it takes, as you point out, is a handful more. We get 4 or 5 more votes and we can actually pass this thing. And there are discussions going on with our colleagues on both sides of the aisle. But at some point they have to take yes for an answer. I mean, the things that people want, and I don't disagree with this at all, is a normal appropriations process, putting bills on the floor, getting conference-passed bills on the floor of the House and Senate so we can actually fund the government the old-fashioned way. And I'm all for that, and we've made that very clear to them. We can't make commitments or promises on the COVID subsidies because that's not something that we can guarantee that there are the votes there to do. But what I've said is I'm open to having conversations with our Democrat colleagues about how to address that issue. And I think that but that can't happen while the government is shut down. I mean, we've got to open up the government. And with respect to our schedule, like I said, I don't know how many times you're going to give them a chance to vote no. And hopefully over the weekend, they'll have a chance to think about it. And maybe some of these conversations start to result in something to where we can start moving some votes and actually get this thing passed. But there's nothing to be gained at this point by negotiating something that there's nothing to negotiate. I mean, I think that's essentially where we are. This is again, a straightforward, simple solution to keep the government open. And then all these other issues that we're talking about, we're happy to sit down and have conversations.
The president said that this is an unprecedented opportunity to make cuts to programs. Do you see that as an unprecedented opportunity, and is that helpful toward these bipartisan negotiations? You mentioned you only need a handful more Democrats.
Well, I mean, as the speaker pointed out, when you're in a shutdown situation, you have to manage the government. And any administration is going to make decisions based on their priorities. Figure out where to move money from here to here, this agency, this department, these employees. That's the situation the Democrats have put the administration in. Now, to your point, I mean, I think they're going to make decisions that are consistent with their priorities. And yes, they're going to have a different political view of the world than the Democrats might have, but that's what the Democrats have wrought by doing this. They are allowing the administration to do the very thing that back in March they said they didn't want to give them the authority to do, and that's to make decisions just like that. But that's what's going to happen. And again, why I'm at a loss to explain the strategy behind this, other than it generates contributions and activist energy support from the far left of the Democrat Party. If you're a Republican or a Democrat here in the Senate or in the House for that matter, who actually wants to get results and get things done, you're losing that opportunity by keeping the government shut down, and you're also handing the administration an opportunity to do things that probably in most cases you're not going to agree with.
Last question. Speaker. Is out with a new poll that shows overwhelming support, including among Republicans, to extend the Obamacare subsidies. I know you both said you want to reform them, so do you commit to doing something to address those subsidies so that insurance premiums don't spike for Americans?
Republicans commit to continue the work that we've already been doing and demonstrating to bring down costs and improve quality of care. We are committed to that, and we will do whatever is necessary to make it happen. This is one of many issues that have to be deliberated and discussed through our process. What we're asking the Democrats to do, I'll close as we began, please open the government so we can do that work, so that all the members of both chambers can be here to do the work, to legislate and to deliberate. They've stopped our ability to do that with these political antics, and we hope it ends. Thank you all for being here.
We were just hearing
and I think we're beyond very close. And I want to thank Bibi for really getting in there and doing a job. We've worked well together, as we have with many other countries, both of us, with many other countries, which is the only way this whole situation gets solved. And I'm not just talking about Gaza. Gaza is one thing, but we're talking about much beyond Gaza. The whole deal, everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. So today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran, trade, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East. And let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. So this is far more than anybody expected, but the level of support that I've had from the nations in the Middle East and surrounding Israel and neighbors of Israel has been incredible, incredible. Every single one of them. This afternoon, after extensive consultation with our friends and partners throughout the region. I'm formally releasing our principles for peace, which people have really liked, I must say. And these are done not just routinely done, these are done with total consideration and working with the nations that we're talking about. All of these nations have made contributions to those suggestions. I want to thank the leaders of many Arab and Muslim nations for their tremendous support in developing the proposal, along with many of our allies in Europe. Europe has been very much involved, and as I was called by many of the European leaders, most of them saying, is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard. Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard. They called just to find out, was it just a rumor or is it actually done? And then they said, have you spoken to the Arab leaders? Have you spoken to all of the other leaders that we have to get? A lot of people involved in this one. I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region. And I want to just say that my meetings and dialogue that we had with so many countries, Saudi Arabia as an example, the king is a phenomenal person. The Emir of Qatar, he's incredible people. UAE, and that's MBZ and ABZ. We're totally involved. These are the people that we've been dealing with and who've been actually very much involved in this negotiation, giving us ideas, things they can live with, things they can't live with. Pretty complex. I mean, after 2,000, 3,000 years, whatever it is, I guess it's got to be a little complex, or it would have been done a long time ago. The King of Jordan was with us, as you know, in the United Nations. The President of Turkey, President Erdogan, is a friend of mine, a strong man, but a good man. President of Indonesia, somebody who's an amazing leader, Prabowo. He is an amazing leader and respected by everybody. He was in the room with us. We were together with most of these people that I'm mentioning. Others were by phone or the next day. The Prime Minister and the Field Marshal of Pakistan, they were with us right from the beginning. Incredible. In fact, they just put out a statement that they fully believe in this pact. It just came out just as I was walking around. They said, sir, you have a big notice from the Prime Minister of Pakistan and from the Field Marshal that they back this 100%. President El-Sisi of Egypt, who's terrific. And these are people I've gotten to know over the years. I mean, I would say it started around 2015 and then went into 2016 when the presidency officially began. But I've known him actually for a long time, and there are many cases really great men. I can't say in all cases, but I will tell you in many cases they're great men and some great women too. They tend to be mostly men, however, I will say that. But if accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours. So the hostages are coming back, and I hate even saying this from the standpoint, doesn't sound right, but it is so important to the parents. The bodies of the young men, I believe in almost all cases, the young men are coming back immediately. I met with parents. The parents felt as strongly about getting the body of their dead boy back as they did as though the boy were alive and well. It's so important to them. And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it, to demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas. And I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too, and that's a good thing. And destroy all terror infrastructure, including the tunnels, weapons, production facilities. They have a lot of production facilities that we're destroying. They'll also help train local police forces in the areas that we're discussing right now, in particular in and around Gaza, working with the new transitional authority in Gaza. All parties will agree on a timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw in phases. They'll be withdrawing in phases. No more shooting, hopefully, as progress is made toward achieving these goals. Arab and Muslim nations need to be allowed the chance to fulfill these commitments of dealing with Hamas. They have to deal with them because they were the one group that we have not dealt with. I haven't dealt with them. But the Arab countries are going to, and Muslim countries are going to be dealing with Hamas, and I believe they've already been there. I think they probably have an understanding, and they haven't maybe mentioned that, but I would imagine they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone as far as they've gone. If they're unable to do so, then Israel would have the absolute right and actually our full backing, the U.S. full backing. Marco's here, and a lot of our leaders are here, our great Vice President, Susie Wiles, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. They've been so involved in this process. I don't think anybody else could have done it or even come close. But it's we're right there. We're right there. First time in thousands of years, I think you can probably say, if you really look into it, if you study back, if you're a scholar, you would say thousands of years. Israel would have my full backing to finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas. But I hope that we're going to have a deal for peace. And if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do. Everyone understands that the ultimate result must be the elimination of any danger posed in the region, and that danger is caused by Hamas. The tyranny of terror has to end, and this is, again, something that we're looking for. This is eternity. This is for forever. To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed, not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world and Israel and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, good man, very good man, and some others. And they'll be named over the next few days. And it'll be quite the board. Working, everybody wants to be on it now. I don't know if that had anything to do. They named me and everybody else wanted to be on it. I guess they figure, well, he's a soft touch. He'll be easy to deal with. Working with the World Bank and others, it will be responsible for recruiting and training a new government that will be made up of Palestinians, along with highly qualified experts from all around the world. Hamas and other terrorist factions will play no role in the board, but they'll play no role in the governance of Gaza at all, directly or indirectly. As you know, thousands of Hamas leaders have been killed and soldiers have been killed. And we can never forget October 7th, but thousands have paid the price for that. And now it's time to get our hostages back and get back to trying to build something that's really great and very important. In our meeting today, Prime Minister Netanyahu was very clear about his opposition to a Palestinian state. And he continuously mentions October 7th, and I understand that. Most people do. And I understand and respect his position on many things, but what he's doing today is so good for Israel. I notice that they have large crowds gathering in Israel all the time, and they have my name up. They like me for whatever reason, Bibi, I don't know, but they do like me. But they say two things. Please get the hostages back and please end the war. They've had it. It's had it. So I think it's a very popular thing you do because he's a warrior. He doesn't know about getting back to a normal way of life, but he is a warrior, and Israel's lucky to have him. But now the people want to get back to peace. They want to get back to normalization in a true sense. Several countries have foolishly recognized the Palestinian state. As you know, some of our European friends, allies, good people, but they're really, I think, doing that because they're very tired of what's going on for so many decades. They've been presidents and prime ministers for years, and during this time, having to do with the Middle East, all they're doing is talking about the same thing over and over. They want to see it get back. And nobody wants that more than me, or I believe Bibi too. But the people of Israel want it. They really want it. They want the hostages back. That includes the probably 32 bodies that we're talking about, 20 people that are living, 32 or so people that are dead, and they want to have peace. So let us not forget how we got here. Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people. Israel withdrew from Gaza thinking they would live in peace. Remember that a long time ago? They withdrew. They said, you take it. This is our contribution to peace. But that didn't work out. That didn't work out. It was the opposite of peace. They pulled away. They let them have it. And I never forgot that because I said, that doesn't sound like a good deal to me. As a real estate person, I mean, they gave up the ocean, right? Ron, they gave up the ocean. They said, who would do this deal? And it still didn't work out. They were very generous, actually. And they gave up the most magnificent piece of land in many ways in the Middle East. And they said, all we want to do now is have peace. And that request was not honored. Instead of building a better life for the Palestinians, Hamas diverted resources to build over 400 miles of tunnels and terror infrastructure, rocket production facilities, and hid their military command posts and launch sites in hospitals, schools, and mosques. So if you went after them, you'd be after them, and you wouldn't even realize you ended up knocking out a hospital or school or a mosque. A terrible thing, terrible, terrible way to have to fight. No fight is good, but that's a real bad one. So there are many Palestinians who wish to live in peace. Many, many, many. I've seen so many of them. And they have support. And I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because that's what we're giving them. We're giving them responsibility for their destiny, fully condemn and prohibit terrorism and earn their way to a brighter future. They don't want the life that they've had. They've had a rough life with Hamas. If the Palestinian Authority does not complete the reforms that I laid out in my vision for peace in 2020, they'll have only themselves to blame. We're giving them an amazing footprint, and they have amazing support from the leaders of the Arab world and the Muslim world, the great leaders. These are great leaders. These are unbelievable leaders that have built great countries and very wealthy countries. What the future holds for the Palestinians, no one really knows, but the plan that we put forward today is focused on ending the war immediately, getting all of our hostages back, getting everything back. Hard to believe when you even say it, and creating conditions for durable Israeli security and Palestinian success. Israeli security is going to be involved. We're going to help you. We'll be there with you in terms of helping with security. We want to make sure it works. We just want to make sure it works. There shouldn't be a shot fired. Now, there will be, I guess, because that's the way it seems to be, but there shouldn't have to be within a few days. There shouldn't have to be a shot fired. And maybe for eternity. Wouldn't that be nice? I hope it's true. I can tell you the leadership of that region feels that there's a good chance of it being true. So this will lead to this agreement that we're talking about will lead to a sustainable long-term peace. No president in history has been a greater friend of the state of Israel than I have, in addition to negotiating the Abraham Accords. I like to say it that way because the real people, that's what they call Abraham. I would say Abraham, but it's so much nicer when you say Abraham. So much more elegant. But the Abraham Accords are amazing. Jared, you did that along with your group of geniuses, and nobody thought that could be done. We have 4 countries, and Sleepy Joe Biden didn't do a thing. He didn't even know what the hell they were. He should have had them full up. But I think this will also lead to packing them. And who knows, maybe even Iran can get in there. I hope, we hope we're going to be able to get along with Iran. I think they're going to be open to it. I really believe that. But they could be a member. I long ago said, I'll bet you at some point Iran will be a member of the Accords. And little did I realize it was going to take this turn. That was some turn we did with the B-2s. But I think they might very well be there because it's a great thing for them economically. I recognize the eternal capital of Israel. I opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. That was something that everyone said would never be done, could never be done. Virtually every president for many, many years, for decades, would campaign on making Jerusalem the capital of Israel. They campaigned on it over and over. Is that right, Steve? Is that right? Everyone, and when they got to it, and I understand why now, because it was so. When I got to office, I campaigned on it too. I said, we're going to make it. And then I'd get calls from the leaders of various countries saying, please don't do it. Please don't do it. It'll end the whole world. Please don't do it. And finally, I just didn't say anything, and I did it. People were calling me before I did it because I heard I was going to do it. And leaders of countries were calling me. And I think it was on a Thursday that I did it. And they'd call me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3-4 times a day, and I said, tell them I'll call them back on Friday. And I announced it on Thursday, and I called them back, the biggest people in the world, and they said, you've done it. I said, done what? You've made the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, and we wanted to talk yet. I wish you called me a little sooner. Maybe I could have done something about it. So that was a lot easier than getting into an argument, because I knew what they were calling about. And you know what? It turned out to be amazing. Everybody thought it was going to lead to the end of the world, right? The end of the world, Ron, that's what they said. It didn't lead to anything. It just led to something that I promised, and something that was very, very popular for Jewish people and a lot of other people, too. I recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and I cut taxpayer funding to the corrupt United Nations Relief and Works Agency. And United Nations was interesting because, as you know, a few days ago they introduced me. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. I'm looking at my teleprompter, and the thing was dead, stone cold, dead. The thing's up here. I have a long, beautiful speech to make. I'm back 30 feet back, and I'm saying, they're introducing me. There's nothing on my teleprompter. So, but I made a speech. I actually got good marks. You think Biden could have done that? I don't think so. I don't think he could have done that. I don't think too many people could have done it. But actually, it was actually more of a speech from my heart, if you want to know the truth. I think it was maybe better in certain ways because it was from the heart. It has to be from the heart. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. But I cut taxpayer funding for that very corrupt United Nations Relief and Works Agency, and nobody thought that would be done, and withdrew from the horrible Iran nuclear deal that was imposed upon Israel by Barack Hussein Obama and Biden. And I don't think Biden knew anything about it, though. I don't think he knows anything about it now, actually, if you ask him. He'd say, what is that? And we obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity, making it impossible for them to have a nuclear weapon, which they would have had probably in about 2 months from that. But I've never asked Israel to compromise its security, but we had big, strong talk. Nobody's been better to Israel. No president's been better to Israel than Donald Trump. But we had a long, strong talk, Bibi and I, and he understands it's time. It's time. History has shown. And the people of Israel want it. And the people of the Middle East want it. The people of enemies of Israel want it. But they don't have really too many enemies right now. And you know what? Many countries have gained great respect for Israel, for the way they fight, for the job they do, including me. I had respect anyway, but they gained respect. History has shown us that those who have relations with Israel have thrived, while those who have devoted resources and attention toward the destruction and even annihilation of Israel have languished. They haven't done well. Israel is not going anywhere. They're going to coexist with other people and countries in the region, from Syria to Lebanon to Saudi Arabia. The promise of a new Middle East is so clearly within our reach. This is the closest we've ever come to real peace, not fake peace, not political fool's peace. If we can get this difficult problem solved, the opportunities for all within that vast region of this world, it's a vast region, it's unlimited. The Abraham Accords show that all countries are better off when they communicate and work together and embrace new opportunities. I hope Jared and Steve and Susie and Marco and JD, we have great people. I hope you guys are going to work very hard to get these other countries in, because now they have no excuse. There's no longer an excuse. They were somewhere hesitant. And I tell you, the 4 countries that went in, I give them tremendous credit, and it's worked out incredibly well for them. In the same spirit, I'm pleased to report that earlier today we took another important step toward greater understanding in the region. A short time ago, we had a historic phone call in the Oval Office with Prime Minister Tani, who's really a great person. So we had a great talk, and I was on the phone, and Bibi was talking. Prime Minister Al-Thani was of Qatar. They really had a heart-to-heart conversation. It was a great conversation.
Hey, what's up, ATM Tim? How you doing, bro? Appreciate you for joining.
Not to be successful, and I want to thank Bibi, and I want to thank the Prime Minister. It was fantastic. We agreed to launch a formal trilateral mechanism between Israel, Qatar, and the United States to begin a dialogue to enhance mutual security, correct misperceptions, and avoid future misgivings. And I want to thank Qatar, its leadership, and the Emir. He's a fantastic person. I think,
we got 800 people in the chat. I want to take the time out right now to thank each and every person for coming in and chilling with us in the chat. We really appreciate y'all for being over here. All the comments, I'm reading the comments. There are really some really funny comments coming in. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Also, I want to thank all the subscribers, everybody that's been rocking with the channel. We just crossed over 7,000 subscribers. I want to thank each and every one of y'all, new subscribers and old. And if you're just now coming in, please consider subscribing to the channel. Please hit the like button so everybody will know that we here over here on Stock Sniper TV. Really appreciate y'all, guys. I hope y'all having a great Friday as we wait on the Diddy sentencing. We're going to see what time he's going to get today. Let's get back to Trump.
Everybody who wants to see an end to the violence and destruction should be united in calling for Hamas to accept the extremely fair proposal so that we can end the war and get us back our hostages right now and have everlasting peace. And I look forward to having relationships with everyone. As the chairman of the board, I'll be involved, and we'll have meetings with some very smart people that'll be working over there to make sure that we haven't just been wasting time with an agreement that doesn't get done. The task of building peace will not be easy. There are some of the hardest problems in the world to solve, and that's why it's been going on for so many centuries. But too many lives are at stake not to try, and this was more than a try. I mean, I think this is something that gets done when you have virtually every country, and these are powerful.
Hello, Bob. How you doing? Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Bob.
Countries try, and they don't have any money. These are very rich countries that can make things happen. So together we'll forge a much safer and more hopeful future for everybody, including Israel. And I want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for his partnership, and I want to thank all of the leaders, the kings and the emirs and the presidents and prime ministers, people I mentioned. And they've been absolutely fantastic to work with, and it's just happened very quickly. It's happened from a couple of weeks before I had a couple of meetings, but a couple of weeks before we went to the United Nations, and we had some incredible meetings. It all came to place. It all took place, and everybody wanted to be a part of it. I don't have anybody that's saying we don't want anything to do with it. It's just the opposite. And I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, a year ago, I don't think we would have had this kind of participation, Mr. VP, right? I don't think we would have had. It's been amazing. The participation was 100%. Everybody wants to be a part of it. And everybody, those very strong countries, everybody wants it to work. So, Bibi, congratulations on this. I think this will be your crowning achievement, frankly. If this all works out, we think it will. It's going to be your crowning achievement. And I want to thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. President, first I want to thank.
We're going to come back to the Prime Minister of Israel, guys. We're going to go over here right now, and we're going to see what Chuck Schumer is saying on the House floor. Appreciate y'all for joining. We will get back to the Prime Minister.
People and fund the federal government. I yield the floor. Want this as well. Want this as well. But failure to act would be devastating. And Republicans know it. Even Donald Trump knows it. He talked about it a little bit with us in the White House.
Hey, what's up, Money Can't Buy Happiness?
When we went a few days back.
Thank you for joining.
If we don't act now, then at least 22 million people will see their health care premiums double on average. But for many people, it's even worse than that. If these ACA premium tax credits aren't extended, the average 55-year-old couple making $85,000 a year would see their premiums not just double, but triple. $25,000 a year. How is a senior citizen, even one that has a little bit of savings and a little bit of a cushion, afford $25,000 a year? So that is all Democrats want to fix. We are on the side of the people. The people know it and want it and need it. It's not complicated. Americans want it. Republican voters want it. Democrats remain ready and willing to work with the other side. We're ready to work on a path forward to lower health care costs for the American people and fund the federal government. I yield the floor.
The sticking point for the Democrats continues to be Medicaid. However, I did want to switch here right now because it does look like the investigation update into the deadly Michigan shooting is now happening.
And second, I want to thank you for your friendship
Israel, guys.
and for your leadership. From Jerusalem to Tehran, from the Golan Heights to Gaza, you've proven time and again what I've said many times. You are the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House. And Mr. President, you and I both know It's not even close. While you focus at home on making America great again, your leadership abroad is changing the world for the better, ending wars and advancing peace. I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East. And I think beyond the Middle East, in very important Muslim countries. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring...
If you don't know, guys, they are giving Hamas until Sunday evening to come back to the table and take the deal. If Hamas does not agree to the deal, and Trump and the Prime Minister of Israel's words, all hell gonna break loose. They're gonna come down really, really hard if Hamas does not take the deal.
Bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. We would not have achieved this turning point without the courage and sacrifice of our incredibly brave soldiers. They fight like lions to defend the people of Israel, and they serve on the front line in the war between civilization and barbarism. Mr. President, when our two countries stand shoulder to shoulder, we achieve the impossible. Just a few months ago, in Operation Rising Lion and Operation Midnight Hammer, we struck a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. Your bold decision to send those B-2s made the region safer and the world safer. Now, under your leadership, we're taking the next step to win the war and expand the peace. Your plan is consistent with the 5 principles my government set for the end of the war and the day after Hamas. Everybody asks, what is your plan for the day after Hamas? Here's our plan. Passed it in the cabinet. All our hostages, both those who are alive and those who died, all of them will return home immediately. Hamas will be disarmed. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will retain security responsibility, including a security perimeter for the foreseeable future. And lastly, Gaza will have a peaceful civilian administration that is run neither by Hamas nor by the Palestinian Authority. If Hamas agrees to your plan, Mr. President, the first step will be a modest withdrawal, followed by the release of all our hostages within 72 hours. The next step will be the establishment of an international body charged with fully disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. I appreciate your willingness to lead the body, Mr. President. I really appreciate it because you have a lot of things to do, and this is important. And it reflects the confidence that this will give everyone, that things will be followed up on all the commitments made. The fact that you're taking this on, I think, helps a lot to make sure that everything flows in the direction that we want. Now, if this international body succeeds, we will have permanently ended the war. Israel will conduct further withdrawals linked to the extent of disarmament and demilitarization, but will remain in the security perimeter for the foreseeable future. I think we should understand that we're giving everybody a chance to have this done peacefully, something that will achieve all our war objectives without any further bloodshed. But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done. We prefer the easy way.
Look how Trump looking at him, Chad. Trump looking at him up and down. Y'all see how Trump looking at him?
But it has to be done. All these goals must be achieved because we didn't fight this horrible fight, sacrifice the finest of our young men to have Hamas stay in Gaza and threaten us again and again and again with these horrific massacres. Mr. President, I was encouraged by your clear statement at the UN against the recognition of a Palestinian state. That would be an outcome that, after October 7th, would reward terrorism, undermine security, and endanger Israel's very existence. As for the Palestinian Authority, I appreciate your firm position that the PA can have no role whatsoever in Gaza without undergoing a radical and genuine transformation. In your 2020 peace plan, which you mentioned just now, you made clear what that transformation requires. It's not lip service. It's not checking a box. It's a fundamental, genuine, and enduring transformation. And that means ending pay to slay, changing the poisonous textbooks that teach hatred to Jews, to Palestinian children, stopping incitement in the media, ending lawfare against Israel at the ICC, the ICJ, recognizing the Jewish state, and many, many other reforms. It won't come as a surprise to you that the vast majority of Israelis have no faith that the PA leopard will change its spots. But rather than wait for this miraculous transformation, your plan provides a practical and realistic path forward for Gaza in the coming years, in which Gaza will be administered neither by Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority, but by those committed to a genuine peace with Israel. I think this can be not only a new beginning for Gaza, I think it can be a new beginning for the entire region. Under your leadership, we can re-energize, well, I've got to contribute my own, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords. That's what it's called in the original Hebrew, Abraham. Abraham is fine, Abraham, however you want to call it. Under your leadership, Mr. President, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords that we forged 5 years ago. We can expand them to many more Arab and Muslim nations that choose moderation over extremism. I think there's an opportunity here. It's not going to be easy, it's tough going, but I think if we succeed, you're absolutely right. We're going to open possibilities that nobody even dreamed of. But I think we dream of them. As you've told me, Mr. President, and you've told the world many, many times, you said, remember October 7th. Remember October 7th. And we do. We will never forget the horrors of October 7th, and we will do whatever is necessary to make sure they don't happen again. Since October 7th, Israel's enemies have learned a hard truth. Those who attack us pay a heavy price, but those who partner with us advance progress and security for their peoples. President Trump just said it. It's also in the Bible. It says, those who will bless you will be blessed, and those who will curse you will be cursed. And that's actually what is happening. We want the blessings. I think we've done a lot in the past 2 years to end the curse. We're not finished, but we've done a lot. And we've done a lot together to end the curse. I want to thank your entire team for their efforts to get to this point. I especially want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for their indefatigable work to bring Israel and Arab states in the region closer together. I am deeply grateful to both of them for their work. We had a phone call today just to make it clear. I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, Israel was targeting terrorists, wasn't targeting Qatar. And of course, we regretted the loss of the Qatari citizen, wasn't our target. And I very much appreciate President Trump's proposal to have a trilateral body, the United States, Israel, and Qatar, to work out respective grievances. There are quite a few. But if we could try to mitigate them or put it on a different footing, I think that'll be good for everyone. Above all the people, the fine team, and many helpers who've done this, I want to thank you, Mr. President. History has already shown that under your leadership, Israel and America can change the face of the Middle East. And today I'm hopeful that your plan to end the war in Gaza will do so again and do so soon. It will free our hostages, end Hamas's tyranny in Gaza, and enable a more secure and prosperous future for the peoples of our region. Thank you, Mr. President. May God bless America. May God bless Israel. May God bless the indispensable alliance between our countries. And may I add in Hebrew, G'mal Chatima Tova, may we all be inscribed in the book of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bibi. So I think while we wait for these documents to be signed and get everybody in line, I think it maybe is not really appropriate to take questions. I'm meeting with, as you know, a couple of Democrats in a little while about the country, about keeping our country open. They're going to have to do some things because their ideas are not very good ones. They're very bad for our country. So we'll see how that works out. But this is something that was really historic today. This was something that was amazing. I think, Bibi, I mean, depending on you, I think while we're waiting for signatures and waiting for approvals from a lot of different countries that are involved in this, we probably shouldn't take questions, or would you like to take a question or two from perhaps a friendly Israeli reporter, if there's such a thing?
That's a very, very tough proposition. But I would think, Mr. President, that I would go by your instinct that this is, we'll have enough time for questions. Let's settle the issue first, I think.
Thank you very much.
Well, they're giving them until Sunday to release the hostages, live and unalive. That's what they're doing. They're giving them until Sunday evening. If Hamas don't make a deal by Sunday evening, according to them, it's really going to get ugly. So what do y'all think, chat? Y'all think that they're going to release the hostages? I don't think they're going to release those hostages. Okay, now we're going to go over here to, let's check out to see what's going on the Diddy trial. We're waiting on the sentencing. How much time they're going to give Diddy?
The defense wants him out.
Or maybe Diddy will get out today, one of the two.
He has a speaking engagement planned for next week in Miami. So we'll see how this all...
We also got an update on that shooting at that school, at the church. So we're going to go over there first.
Play the video, please.
This is the body cam footage of the officer who came on the scene of the church shooting. So let's look at this footage right here.
I got your back there, man. Yeah, stay there. Shoot him.
Wow.
Get back, get back. Drop the gun now. No way. Drop it. You good? CEO, you good?
Yeah, that was kind of crucial, guys. That was kind of crucial right there.
All plays out. Stay with abnews.com and AP News on our app for lots more information about the Sean Diddy Combs sentencing.
Yeah, I had to get it off of that one, guys. I had to take it off of that. So now we're waiting on the Diddy trial. What's up, chat? How y'all doing? Bro, I can do what I want to do, Davis. This is my stream. I can do what I want to do. Chill out. You've been, if you don't like what I'm doing, you can leave. I've been reading your comments all the way through. I've been letting you make it, man. Just chill. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, then leave. That's all you got to do. You got the opportunity to leave. But I appreciate you for coming through, but you can leave.
Clean, nonpartisan, continuing resolution that would open the government and allow us to continue working on the appropriations process. Just to kind of give a little perspective on that, here are the statistics showing all of the Biden-era clean CRs that were passed. 13 of them during the Biden administration, and 96% of the Democrats voted for them. Now they can't vote for a clean resolution. How do you explain that? Unfortunately, Democrat leadership is demanding more than $1 trillion in new spending just to keep the government open. So instead of voting for this clean CR, they want more than $1 trillion in new spending in a CR that, the CR has no Republican priorities in it. It's just a clean CR. So how is it we're supposed to put trillions of dollars of Democrat priorities in a CR that goes till November 21? That's what Leader Schumer has said. And that's exactly why this is the Schumer shutdown. They've taken our government hostage with a list of demands that's really quite astonishing. They want funding for health care for illegal immigrants. They want more subsidies for pandemic-era health insurance, all while actually repealing a $50 billion health care fund for rural hospitals that was put in the One Big Beautiful Bill. How does that make sense? In the meantime, vital programs that support hardworking American families have either been shuttered or are very nearly out of money. Let's end this Schumer shutdown and pass a clean short-term CR, the same kind of clean CR, mind you, that, as I said, 96% of Democrats voted for to support 13 times during the Biden administration, and that's what this shows. Let's pass this clean CR and get back to work and move our appropriations bills through regular order. That's how we're supposed to do it, through regular order. Already, we've made progress in this Congress doing just that. The Appropriations Committee has passed 8 of the 12 approps bills on a bipartisan basis. As a matter of fact, we just approved, not too long ago, 3 of them. One of them was my ag appropriations bill by big bipartisan majorities here on the floor in the Senate. Compare that to the last Congress when Leader Schumer refused to allow us to bring any of the appropriation bills to the floor. In fact, nearly a month ago now, the House requested a formal conference on the 3 bills that I just referenced that we have passed across the floor with large bipartisan majorities. And we are ready to go to conference with them and finish our work on those appropriations bills through regular order, as I just said. And our majority leader has said very clearly that he is ready to bring defense appropriations and the labor health bill, which would actually get us up north of 75, maybe even 80% of the appropriation process finished. And he's ready to bring those 2 bills to the floor as soon as we're open and operating. Mr. President, we need to reopen the government to return to our bipartisan appropriations work and get back to conducting the business of the American people. Another good example is the work we're doing for our ag producers. And I know, Mr. President, you know about that very well. Every American depends every single day on the high-quality, low-cost food supply that our farmers and ranchers provide. At the same time, our farmers and ranchers depend on access to markets to ensure that they get good prices for the high-quality crops that they produce. This is particularly true, for example, for soybean farmers in my state of North Dakota, where we export nearly 90% of what we grow, a lot of that going to markets like China. With harvest season underway, the Trump administration continues to fight for better markets for our farmers and ranchers. But in the meantime, our producers need a bridge to stronger markets and the updated farm safety net, which we included as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Due to China's efforts to reduce commodity prices and push up the cost of production, our farmers are having a hard time right now, as you well know. As the administration works to secure better trade deals with our nation, it's critical that we don't allow China to use our farmers as a pressure point in those negotiations. That's why I've been working, along with others, with this administration on emergency assistance to bridge that gap while we seek better trade agreements and more export sales for our farmers. Along with Senate Ag Committee Chairman Senator Bozeman, we've done a lot of work, and we're ready to go when the President and the Secretary decide it's time to move forward with a plan that will help bridge that gap and keep our producers afloat. Doing so will give the administration trade team needed leverage in these negotiations with China. U.S. producers deserve to be treated fairly in the global marketplace, not to be used as a tool by China in their negotiations on fair trade, which we demand. The administration's efforts are all about securing better trade terms that not only reduce foreign tariffs, but eliminate the non-tariff trade barriers that other countries use to lock out American farmers and ranchers. And by acting now and providing assistance to our producers during these negotiations, we will send a very strong signal to China that their tactics will not work. That's how we secure better market access for our producers for the long term. And that is exactly what President Trump did in his first term in the negotiations with China. And we worked with him on the market facilitation program to keep our farmers in the game. And the result was that President Trump secured a $50 billion agreement from China to purchase our ag commodities. And that's what we're working to do again. So let's get this government back open so we can continue that hard work. And you know, Mr. President, that's just one example of the work that needs to get done for the American people. So, again, we're going to have a vote here in a little bit. And once again, I ask that our Democrat colleagues join with us and vote to get this government open. It is a clean, short-term resolution so that we can do the work of the American people. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Let's see who's going to be next up. I'm gonna keep it right here for a little bit, Chad. Let's see who's next up to speak.
The senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr.
Go.
President, we are 3 days into a government shutdown, and we are in the middle of a healthcare crisis entirely of Republicans making. And a new poll shows nearly 80% of Americans, that is 4 in 5, want Republicans to work with us to stop their premiums from doubling. So what is the holdup? After all, as we speak, health plans are in the middle of locking in massive rate increases, and those notices will be in the mail any day now. These are two serious issues facing our country, and yet Trump and Republican leaders are refusing to take any of them seriously. On health care, they've decided to shut down the government rather than work with us. And they've decided they would rather make up lies about illegal immigrants than talk about the actual issue at stake. The reality that Republicans are letting premiums more than double. Newsflash, Republican areas are actually going to face some of the biggest price jumps if they refuse to save health care. Small businesses are going to take a hit, not to mention farmers. 1/4 of our farmers are covered on the ACA exchanges, so this healthcare crisis is a big concern for them. Millions of families across the country are about to see their monthly healthcare costs jump by hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And the Republicans' plan here seems to be, I hope no one notices. That is out of touch. Maybe a couple $1,000s here and there seems like no big deal when you take your marching orders from billionaires like Donald Trump. But if Republicans talk to everyday families and fewer rich billionaires, they would understand the healthcare crisis Republicans are ignoring is going to devastate folks back home. Millions of people are going to be priced out of their insurance. They will skip their basic health care. They will skimp on their medication. They will miss out on life-saving treatments. It is no exaggeration to say people will die. There is no avoiding that reality, though Republicans seem determined to try. And on the shutdown, Trump and Republican leadership are not taking this seriously. President Trump has made clear he doesn't see this shutdown as a problem to solve. He sees a shutdown as an opportunity to hurt people. He sees a shutdown as an opening to make good on even more of the awful promises of Project 2025. Trump sees a shutdown as an excuse to harm whoever he wants and do whatever he wants, even and maybe especially if it hurts folks back home. The Trump administration actually isn't even trying to hide that fact. They're targeting their cuts at blue states. They're talking about canceling Democratic priorities, and they are threatening our constituents if we do not bend the knee. No one can believe President Trump is serious about ending this shutdown when he is more focused on tweeting out fake sombrero pictures and showing Russ Vought as the Grim Reaper than he is on working on a deal. No one can believe President Trump seriously cares whether he is hurting everyday Americans when the only thing he is focused on is taking the opportunity to punish the American people with cruel cuts and cruel firings, which don't just hurt Democrats, they hurt his own voters as well. And I should mention, no one can believe Republican leadership is serious about ending the shutdown either when Senate Republicans are holding the same vote over and over while refusing to start serious negotiations. And by the way, House Republicans are not even here in town. And instead of talking about addressing health care, they're saying just wait or later. Democrats have been waiting. We've been trying to save the health care tax credits for months. We cannot wait any longer. Later is too late. The irony of Republicans telling us to wait on health care is as rich as the people they shoveled tax breaks on earlier this year. Because let's not forget, earlier this year, Republicans chose to spend a lot of time here and a lot of effort extending the tax cuts for wealthy CEOs. Those tax cuts were set to expire at the end of this year, just like the ACA tax credits we are talking about now. What did Republicans do? Did they tell the billionaires to wait? No.
We are listening into Senator Patty Murray there on the Senate floor. We've been dipping in and out as lawmakers from both sides are talking.
Me too. Amen on the truth. Music Freak 1. Jesus, this woman is something else. Concerned about memes. Yeah, I agree with that. She's bringing up memes. Doug L., look at the Democratic debate when asked if they were for giving illegal immigrants health care. They all raised their hands. Yep. I agree with that. Rich Cannon. Walter Davis. The only thing you got me on red-handed is my spelling. That's because, boys, the text doesn't like my accent. Yeah, the comment section then slowed down a lot now, so I can read some of these comments. Music Freak 1. Hospitals can deny you service if you're dying. I was thinking that hospitals can't deny you. Music Freak. Maybe you meant to put can. Because I think that they can't deny you if it's life-threatening. It's pretty much going to be on the Democrats. Walter Davis. Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be on the Democrats. I think that they should separate this because they're sitting here arguing about health care, about basically illegals. One side says about illegals. The other side is saying it's about regular Americans losing health care. I think they should separate this, work on keeping the government funded, and argue about the health care later on. Because long as they're arguing about the health care right now, this government is going to continue to be shut down. That's my opinion, guys. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Is this on there now? We're also trying to cover the Diddy trial. Somebody going to jail. Let's see.
Podium set up there because perhaps there will be reaction after that sentencing is read by the judge. On the right-hand side of your screen, that is what has been happening. A lot of people gathering outside, hoping to get a glimpse of Sean Diddy Combs' family, some of whom are inside the court at this hour, and then, of course, some of this. So we did want to share that with you, and we also have an update from TMZ. This is an interesting development right here. TMZ reporting that prosecutors are claiming Diddy booked speaking engagements for next week in Miami. That is going to be very interesting as they discuss that in court right here, because Sean Diddy Combs is facing.
Man, they say Diddy already got speaking engagements booked for next week.
A release of some sort. To talk more on this, I do want to bring in criminal defense attorney Jeremy Rosenthal to talk more on this.
I don't know. They say that he already got bookings for next week.
That's not good for P. Diddy. He's got his federal sentencing today, and the way that federal sentencing works is we have a trial. You get a trial, you get jurors. All of that happens. If you're found guilty, the sentencing is 100% up to the judge. The judge has a lot of guidelines that the judge can follow and the judge has to follow, but really any information like this that makes its way to the judge, it can be really, really important to be able to undermine it or cross-examine it or try to find a way to show the judge that maybe it's not true. And if it is true, that's certainly not the look that P. Diddy wants.
We waiting on Diddy's sentencing, guys. He's supposed to get his time today. They say the federal prosecutors are recommending 11 years. In my opinion, I think that's kind of high. I think they should give him probation and let him out. He's been in there for a year. Give him probation and see how he does. But like 11 years, that's a little bit too much in my opinion.
She expressing true remorse. And he submitted a letter to the judge indicating that he truly is remorseful for everything that he did. He takes responsibility. And he also said that the old self died in jail. There's a new one reborn. And I also wanted to share this. This is from the New York Post right here. So he's begging for a second chance, saying, I will not let you down. However, TMZ indicating perhaps this is not authentic and genuine. That is, a real concern, I have to imagine.
Absolutely it is. And a lot of what we do as criminal defense lawyers is we have to make our client and turn our client.
Because I think he's 56. If they give him 11 years, he'll be 67 years old. Let's see how old Diddy is. Let's see. He's 55. He'll be 56 next month. He'll be 56 years old next month. So if the judge give him the 11 years that the prosecution is recommending, wow, he'll be 66, 67 years old.
Some of those character traits, that's P. Diddy's challenge. That's his lawyer's challenge. Experience tells me a letter to the judge written at the 11th hour normally doesn't do that. And we'll see if that carries any weight. But again, this is exclusively up to this judge how much time he's going to give Diddy. And so everybody is cramming as much information as they can to this judge for this sentencing today.
When they go to the hospital, but when a bag of fluid is $300. The problem is the government can't regulate the prices for the services. Music freak, sex trafficking destroys some of those people's lives. He should be locked up for a while. Music freak 1. Figure out the price gouging that fixes it.
Again, federal sentencing is kind of in some ways the Wild West. The way that federal sentencing.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a while before we find out how much time he got, guys. I'm thinking I'm gonna end this stream and then come back. Yeah, I think I'm in this stream and then come back right when he get sentenced. Hey, what's up, Valerie? Hello, how you doing? Walter Davis, you can go to Mexico right now, and there every single medication is on the market 10 times cheaper.
say we can't even make our case about that. So it is sort of a delicate balancing act. And yes, you have a lot of this information pouring in at the judge at the last minute. And so you would think also, because the judge knows that you're really not equipped necessarily to address some of these surprise things, judge probably takes it with a grain of
Hey,
salt.
what's up, Jonathan Davis?
And again, there's a good chance that this judge decided during the trial.
I can finally talk to the chat, because when there's a lot of people in the chat, I mean, it just be moving, and it's hard to keep up with the chat. I like when it's nice and slow like this. I can actually read some of these comments, because I like reading the comments, guys. A lot of times, I just sit here and read the comments, because, you know, sometimes, a lot of times, there's a lot of intelligent, funny people in the chat. That's why sometimes you hear me laugh here and there. It's because I've read somebody's comment and it was actually kind of funny. Because y'all know this is the Freedom of Speech channel. Yeah, you can come over here, speak your mind. But of course, I mean, long as you're not threatening nobody or, you know, talking about unaliving people, you know, outrageous stuff. But this is the Freedom of Speech chat. That's why this is the best chat room on YouTube. And that's not my opinion. I did a poll. I had 1,000 people in the chat, and I did a poll. Is this the best chat room on YouTube? And 70% of the people in the chat said yes. So ever since then, I've been saying this is the best chat room on YouTube. Respect, Snipe. I gotta go, bro. All right, Rich, appreciate you for coming through. Hope you have a great weekend. What do you think happens to 50's documentary about Diddy that he sold to Netflix? I think a lot of people are going to watch it. That's what I think. Yeah, I think I'm in this stream, guys, and come back when we get closer to the Diddy sentencing. Because right now, they're probably going through litigations. They're probably going through testimony. You know, so it's going to be a little bit long before we get any real news about how much time that Diddy will serve. In my opinion, I think that they should give him probation to give him a chance. Since he did get found not guilty for the serious crimes, he's been in there for a year. I think that they should give him probation and give him a chance. I don't know if they'll ever release it. I think if Diddy gets out, he is going to make his own. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. He's going to make his own documentary. I hope he learned his lesson, though. And guys, people in the chat, younger guys, older guys, public service announcement. You cannot be flying people out. You can't do it. Like how they be flying females in, you know, for these type of services. You can't do it. It's a federal case. A lot of people like flying out the Instagram models. I think that probation, I think he should get, since it's it's 10 years for each charge, I would say 10 years probation. 10 years probation. Bro, judge will give him 7 years. Man. I think he might get 4 to 6. So it's a lesson to be learned, guys. It's a lot of people that fly girls out, right? Instagram models and stuff like that. This right here, guys, is a wake-up call. You can't be flying girls in. You can't do it. You can't do it. That's a federal case. If you fly somebody in from another state for those type of, things, for prostitution, you can't do it. In other words, buying, prostitution on the internet is dead. They might just make an example out of Diddy. They might do it. They might make him an example. Because, guys, they can't give him 20 years because each charge carries 10. They can stack the two and give him 20 and really send a message. Yeah, I think they're going to set an example because a lot of people, flying in these Instagram models, some people don't know the sentencing guidelines on what you can really get on those type of charges. So this is a teachable moment right now. Younger guys, older guys, stay away from those Instagram models. Stay away from them. Well, they call them Instagram models, but they're really prostitutes, guys. So you got to stay away from them because if you get caught up, especially if you flying out multiple ones and you giving one more money than the other one, you'll fool around and be in the same position as Diddy because they will get jealous. So that is not the play. That's why we can't be thirsty behind these women, guys. You can't be thirsty. Find you one woman that you get along with, that you love, and marry her. Don't be on the internet thirsty behind these women. Yeah, the BBLs and all that stuff, it looks good. But everything that look good ain't good. We got to keep that in mind. Especially older guys that's my age. You can't be thirsty behind these women. They'll do you all type of ways. Nothing is secret these days. Keep yourself strong in morals. That's right, Music Freak. Keep the one who likes you, not the one you like. That's right, Jason. Rich Cannon, yeah, buddy. Well, I think I'm going to end it right here, guys. I'm going to come back right when we get the sentencing. I'm going to come back. So I appreciate y'all for joining me, all 147 people in the building. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification button so you'll be notified when we go live. This is the Freedom of Speech channel. So I think I'm going to end this one and I'm going to come back, guys. So y'all come back and rock with me if you can. I appreciate y'all for joining me. Y'all have a great day. I will be back, though. So with that being said, I love and I appreciate y'all. To the next one, I'm out. Jason, Old School Mistakes. Make the real. Appreciate y'all, guys. I'll be back. I'm out.